single tune.
I found a pregnancy test in the trash, but I'd secretly gotten a vasectomy. The next day, I overheard my wife talking to her mom. Of course, I'll tell him it's his. I did this with the first child. He didn't notice. My lover isn't ready for kids. While she was at work, I packed my stuff and left. I sent the pregnancy test to her lover's wife. She called me and said something that shocked me to my core. I shot 84 at Harborview on a Thursday, which is relevant because the day I find out my wife is carrying another man's child, I'm still pleased about my short game. The phone buzzes in my cart bag on the 9th green. Singapore Fund. Series B term sheet, $12 million, clean terms. I text back 3 words, send the docs. Then I drain a 6-footer for birdie and think, good day. It stops being a good day about 4 hours later. I drop the co-investment deck at Ridgeline Capital on the way home. Chrome lobby, recessed lighting. The kind of building that charges you for the air. I wait 4 minutes for the elevator, and through the glass partition, I see Elias Weston with his hand on an assistant's shoulder. Not a pat. The specific pressure of a man who has never been told no about anything he wanted to touch. I file it the way you file things that don't quite fit any existing category. Then I forget it. I won't forget it later. Sloane's car's in the drive when I get home. Kitchen light on. She's warm tonight. Too warm. The warmth of someone who has been managing a situation all day and is now managing me. She asks how my round went. Before she asks, she adjusts her earring twice. Left hand, quick, automatic. I notice it the way I notice everything. Cataloged, unexplained, stored. Shot 84, I say. No, short game was clean. That's great, babe. She's already turned back to the counter. Here's the thing about 9 years of marriage. You learn the difference between warmth and performance. Tonight she's performing warmth, and the performance is good, not good enough. I go upstairs to change. The bathroom is hers in the way that bathrooms become a woman's. Products arranged, towels folded a specific direction, the particular smell of her moisturizer hanging in the air like a signature. The trash can is under the sink. I'm not looking in the trash can. I'm reaching past it for the cabinet. The edge of it catches my eye. Pregnancy test. Positive window up. Not hidden. Just dropped. The way you drop something when your hands are shaking and you need to sit down. I pick it up with 2 fingers. Set it on the counter like a piece of evidence. Because that's what it is. My vasectomy was 3 years ago. Cash. Quiet clinic on Halstead. I didn't tell Sloane because we'd been arguing about a 3rd child, and I'd made my decision, and I didn't feel like having the argument. I've thought about that choice a lot in the 3 years since. I'm thinking about it now. I stand there for 11 seconds. I count them. Then I take out my phone and photograph the test with the timestamp on, the counter, the window, the date in the corner of the screen. Huh, I say to no one. I put the test back exactly where I found it. I close the cabinet. I wash my hands. The water's cold, and I leave it cold. Through the bedroom wall, Sloane's voice. Low. The specific low of someone who believes walls are thicker than they are. I stand in the hallway. The carpet is beige. I've always hated the carpet. Of course, I'll tell him it's his, she says. I did this with the first child. He didn't notice. My lover isn't ready for kids. There's a pause. Her mother says something I can't hear. I know, Sloane says. I know. But Beckett doesn't pay attention to things that don't have a spreadsheet attached. I stand in the hallway, not breathing. The golf bag is still in the trunk. The Singapore term sheet is still on my phone. Everything from 6 hours ago is exactly where I left it. My hands are at my sides. My jaw is set. Somewhere in my chest, something that has been a marriage for 9 years finishes being won, quietly, without ceremony. The way a fire goes out when there's nothing left to burn. I take out my phone, open the voice memo app, speak clearly at normal volume with the date and time. What I heard, word for word, through a wall in my own house. I email it to myself. Subject line, null/01. Then I walk to the kitchen, fill 2 glasses of water, and bring one to Sloane. She's sitting on the bed, phone face down, the particular stillness of someone who has just ended a call they didn't want to be on. Long day, I say. The usual, she says. I nod. Get some rest. I go to my office, close the door. Sit down at my desk in front of 3 monitors in a room with blackout blinds. The room where I have built 3 companies from nothing. And I pull up the vasectomy clinic records from a scanned PDF in my cloud drive. I open a new folder. I label it Null. 11 files in it before midnight. At 11, I call Garrison's cell. He's been my attorney for 6 years. He picks up on the second ring because Garrison Okafor doesn't let calls go to voicemail from people he considers worth his time. It's Beckett. I need you at 9. How bad? Depends on what you call bad. A pause. I'll have coffee ready. I hang up. Down the hall, Ren's light is still on. I knock once, open the door. She's 16 and reading something with a broken spine, the way she reads everything. Fully committed, dog-eared. She looks up. I look at her for a moment. Her mother's jaw, my eyes. 16 years of getting something right in a house, where I apparently got other things very wrong. Night, I say. Night, she says, and looks back at her book. Neither of us knows yet that this is the last ordinary night in this house. But I know it. And I stand in the hallway after I pull her door closed, and I let myself know it fully for exactly 4 seconds. Then I go back to my desk. The folder's labeled Null. The cursor blinks. I start building. Garrison's conference room is on the 22nd floor with a river view that nobody in this room is looking at. He has coffee ready, as promised. He pours mine without asking how I take it because he already knows. He's that kind of attorney. I lay out 3 things on the table. The pregnancy test photo, the time-stamped audio memo, the vasectomy records from the Halstead Clinic, date-stamped 3 years ago, my signature, the doctor's signature, the procedure code. Garrison looks at all 3 without touching them. He has a habit of reading things with his hands in his lap, like a man who knows that touching evidence changes it. How much do you want to keep, he asks. None of it. I want it clean. Clean takes longer. I've got time. He picks up the vasectomy records then, holds them at a slight angle like he's checking for watermarks. The child she's carrying. Not mine. The first child. Ren, I say. Ren is mine. I was there. We were trying. A pause. Dex is 8. We weren't trying. Garrison sets the paper down. He asks one question. The question he already knows the answer to, which is why he only needs one. Do you know who? I tell him about Ridgeline Capital, the lobby, the hand on the shoulder. He opens his laptop, pulls up the iCloud shared family plan. Sloane and I have been on the same account for 9 years, and Sloane has never once thought about what that means in terms of deleted texts. Garrison's paralegal recovered them 2 hours ago at my request before I came in. He turns the screen toward me. Elias Weston, managing partner, Ridgeline Capital, 44 years old. Charm as infrastructure. I can see it even in the texts, the specific cadence of a man who has never had to try very hard for anything. Hotel bookings under Ridgeline's corporate Amex, car service on the company account. A pattern so consistent it has become careless, the way powerful men get careless when they've been getting away with things long enough. Garrison makes a note. I watch him write. His handwriting is architectural, precise, no flourishes. He's married, I say. Is he? I looked him up last night. Nadia Weston. Forensic accountant, freelance. Garrison looks at me over his reading glasses. You're thinking of contacting her. I already did. He sets his pen down. Beckett. I mailed her the pregnancy test this morning. Original, not a copy. On the way to a pitch meeting. No note. Just the test, padded envelope. Return address, a UPS store on Michigan Avenue. Garrison is quiet for a moment. He picks his pen back up. And you dropped it before coming here. 40 minutes ago. He writes something I can't read upside down. I'm going to pretend you told me about that after the fact. You are telling yourself that right now, I agree. My phone rings 40 minutes into the meeting. Number I don't recognize. Chicago area code, I answer. This is Nadia Weston. Her voice is February concrete, the kind that doesn't crack under pressure, just compresses, gets denser. I received something in the mail this morning. I know. She's not the only one, Nadia says. There are two others. I've been waiting for someone to move first. The air in the conference room goes very still. Garrison is watching me. I keep my face at the same angle it was before the call. How long have you known? I ask. 14 months, you? 14 hours. A pause. You move fast. I build things, I say. Fast is how I work. We meet at Cafe Sonder in Wicker Park at 2 p.m. Exposed brick, corner booths, the smell of burnt espresso. She's already there when I arrive. Folder open on the table, posture closed, the body language of someone who has been doing this work alone for a long time and has gotten efficient at it. Nadia Weston is 40 years old and looks like someone who has been lied to by an expert and spent 14 months becoming an expert herself. She doesn't stand when I sit down. She slides a spreadsheet across the table without preamble. $34,000, she says. Ridgeline corporate spend, hotels, car service, dinners, 14 months. I don't touch the spreadsheet, I photograph it. I kept thinking I was the problem, she says, not looking up. Her finger traces a column total, not reading it, just touching it. A habit. I'm quiet for 3 seconds. I drafted that sentence in my head last night. She looks up then. Something in her face does a small, involuntary thing, not softening exactly. Recognition. He told me the corporate spend was client entertainment, she says. 41 hotel receipts, I say. 14 months. The numbers land between us on the table like Pruitt's photographs, which I haven't seen yet, but will. Her phone buzzes. She glances at it, her sister Petra, I'll learn later, and almost smiles. The first time her face does anything unexpected. She puts the phone face down. My sister went through a divorce 2 years ago, she says. She used this values matching app, singletune.com. She met someone who'd been through the same thing. Nadia straightens the edge of her folder. She said the first thing it asks you isn't what you look like. It asks what you believe in. I half hear it. I'm already looking at the spreadsheet through the lens of my phone camera, thinking about Garrison's paralegal and what 14 months of Ridgeline corporate spend looks like as an exhibit. I'll send you the full file, Nadia says. I'll have my attorney contact yours. She nods. We sit there for another 20 minutes, with folders open and faces closed. Two people who have decided not to feel anything until the work is done. It's the most honest conversation I've had in 14 months. I walk 3 houses down at 4 p.m. Pruitt Calloway's on his porch with a coffee, the way he always is. Retired postal inspector, 67 years old. The specific stillness of a man who has spent his career noticing things without appearing to notice anything. I sit in the other chair. He doesn't ask why I'm there. I was going to say something, he says after a moment. I didn't think it was my place. How many Tuesdays? 14. Same car, same window. He wraps both hands around his mug. He'd leave by 2, sometimes 1:45. You have photos. I have photos. He takes out his phone and texts me a gallery. 41 images, time-stamped. The black Audi, Ridgeline registered, I'll confirm later. The parking angle. The windshield once, Elias's face clear as a passport photo, looking at something in the passenger seat with the particular expression of a man who believes he owns the afternoon. I forward 3 to Garrison without comment. 41 photos, I text. 14 months. We have a timeline. Garrison texts back one word. Perfect. Pruitt refills his coffee without offering me any, which I respect. We sit for another few minutes. The street is quiet. 3 houses down, my house looks exactly like it always does. Nothing visible from the outside. Nothing to indicate that everything inside it is being disassembled one file at a time. You going to be all right? Pruitt asks. Working on it. Good, he says, and goes back to watching the street. Wren sets the second phone on my desk at 7 p.m. without a word. She found it in the hall closet, behind a box of winter coats, a prepaid, the kind you buy at a pharmacy, the kind that doesn't show up on a family plan. She sets it down and her face is doing math I recognize, because it's the same math I was doing last night in this chair. I look at her. You okay? Are you? Working on it. Okay, she says, and goes back to her room. That's all. That's enough. The second phone has 340 messages. I'm going to read all of them, but not tonight. Tonight I close the folder, label it null/phase 2, and go to sleep in the bed I've been sleeping in for 9 years. Sloan rolls toward me in the dark. I don't move. I'm already somewhere else entirely. The folder's named Null. I built it the way I build everything. Foundation first, frame second. No one sees it until it's ready to stand on its own. I call the restaurant from my office at noon on a Tuesday. Maison Vert, Gold Coast, white tablecloths, $200 entrees, the restaurant where I proposed to Sloan 9 years ago, at a corner table with a view of the street. The maitre d' recognizes my name. I request the same table. Then I go home and tell Sloan I want to talk, that I've been distant, that I miss her. She believes it because she needs to. The warmth in her face is the warmth of relief. The specific relief of someone who has been managing a secret and suddenly thinks the management is working. Her hand finds my arm. She adjusts her earring once, not twice. I made a reservation, I say. Maison Vert, 8 o'clock. Beckett, just dinner, I say. Just us. She smiles. It's a real smile, which is almost worse. Simultaneously across town, Nadia's texting Elias from a burner she bought at the same pharmacy Sloan bought hers. She's using Sloan's cadence, lifted from the 340 messages on the second phone, which I read in one sitting on Sunday night with a glass of water, and the blackout blinds down. She tells him Sloan is ending things tonight, meeting him at Maison Vert. Needs to tell him in person. Can't do this anymore. Elias texts back in 4 minutes. He'll be there. Of course he will. Men like Elias Weston always show up when they think they're being summoned. At 7:45, Nadia and I are at the bar at Maison Vert. Backs to the room, 2 glasses of water between us, and a view of the door in the bar mirror. She's wearing gray. I'm wearing the jacket I wore the night I proposed. Neither of us chose that on purpose. Sloan arrives first, in the green dress, the one she wore the night I proposed. I wonder if she chose it on purpose. She's shown to the table. She sits, she looks at the menu, she looks at the door. She looks at the menu again. Elias arrives at 8:03. He reads the room the way a man reads a room, when he's used to being the most important person in it. Head up, slight smile, already composing his entrance. Then he sees Sloan at the table. Her face goes white. His goes gray. The specific gray of a man who has just understood that the room he's reading has already been read by someone else. The moment both of them understand simultaneously that this was not their idea takes approximately 4 seconds. I lift my glass. He shoots 87, I say quietly, to no one. Nadia doesn't ask what I mean. She takes a sip of water. Table 7. Elias standing. Sloan's hand flat on the white tablecloth, pressing down like she's trying to keep it from rising. Their voices climb in the particular register of 2 people who cannot afford to make a scene and are making one anyway. The sommelier retreats to the service station. 3 tables turn. The slow, practiced turn of people who want to watch without appearing to want to watch. You said you handled it, Sloan hisses. I handled nothing. You said you were ending it. I was ending it here tonight with you present so that you texted me 20 minutes ago. I did not text you. The room goes the particular quiet of people pretending not to listen while listening completely. A woman at the next table refills her own wine glass. A man near the window puts his phone away and picks it up again. Nadia and I walk out before the entrees arrive. I leave cash for the bar tab, exact amount, no tip, because the bartender has already seen enough and doesn't need a reason to remember us fondly. The valet stand is to the left. We go right. Behind us, through the restaurant's glass front, I can see table 7. Elias is standing. Sloan is standing. The maitre d' is approaching with the expression of a man who has been trained for exactly this situation and would prefer to be anywhere else. Outside, Nadia says, "That was precise." I build things, I say. We walk a block in the same direction before she turns toward the parking garage, and I turn toward mine. No dramatic pause, no lingering. 2 people who have done what they came to do, going back to the work. Elias leaves Maison Vert in a rage at 8:47, according to the valet ticket that Garrison's paralegal will obtain the following week. He pulls out of the valet lane without looking. His Audi clips a city bus mirror and spins into a parked rideshare. The sound is specific. The particular crack and scrape of a car that costs more than it should, meeting a consequence it didn't anticipate. Nobody hurt. But the police report names him, the location, the time. Garrison's paralegal is monitoring public incident reports. By morning, it's in the file. The crash is the first document that places Elias Weston at Maison Vert on record. I send the calendar document to Lawson Marsh's personal email at 10 p.m. 14 months of dates, locations, and Hallie's own cover texts. She's with me, girls' night, don't wait up. Laid out in a clean grid with source citations. I built it the way I build everything. Structured, sourced, unambiguous. Lawson calls at 11:07 p.m. His voice has the quality of a man who's been sitting in a dark room since the email arrived. Is this everything? There's a folder, I say. You want it or not? Silence, then. Send it. I send it. Sloane comes home at midnight. I'm at my desk. She stands in the doorway with her mascara, doing what mascara does after a night like hers. Architectural, still mostly intact, which tells me she held it together until the car. That was you, she says. That was you tonight. I had dinner at the bar, I say. You had dinner at the table. You set that up? I made a reservation. You invited someone. She throws her clutch. It hits the bookshelf. A framed photo of Dex Falls, his school photo from last year, the one where he's smiling at something outside the frame. It lands face up on the carpet. Neither of us picks it up. I want to know what you think you're doing, she says. Her voice is controlled until the last word, where it isn't. I'm eating clean, I say. You should try it. She stares at me. I look back at her from my chair with the monitors behind me and the blackout blinds down and the null folder open on the center screen. She can't see what's on the screens from where she's standing. She can see my face. My face is giving her nothing. This isn't over, she says. No, I agree on, it's not. She goes to the bedroom. The door doesn't slam. She closes it, which is somehow worse. The controlled close of someone saving their energy. I sit at my desk at 2 a.m. with the house quiet and Dex's photo still on the floor and the null folder open, and I open my phone. The app is there from a search I don't remember starting, singletune.com. I must have found it after Nadia mentioned it in some 2 a.m. spiral. I've already half forgotten. The first screen isn't a photo grid. It's a question. What do you believe a relationship is actually for? I stare at it for a long time. The cursor blinks in the text field. I don't type anything. I put the phone face down on the desk, but the question sits there like a splinter. Small, specific, impossible to ignore once you've felt it. Hallie's marriage is over by morning. I know because Lawson texts me at 6:14 a.m. One word. Received. I don't know what Hallie told him. I don't need to. The calendar document told him everything she wouldn't. Somewhere across town, Sloane is waking up to a text from her best friend that I will never read, and I find I don't need to read that either. The dominoes know which way to fall. Nadia's attorney files for divorce on a Wednesday. I know because she texts me. Filed. Elias received service at Ridgeline Capital. Lobby, 9:14 a.m. I picture him in that chrome lobby with the recessed lighting, the process server handing him the envelope. The specific expression of a man whose infrastructure is showing its cracks. The second affair partner surfaces in Nadia's documentation the same day. A Ridgeline associate named Petra Vance, named in a sworn affidavit Nadia's attorney files as an exhibit. Elias has been running 2 parallel arrangements on the firm's dime, with the organizational efficiency of a man who has confused access with entitlement for so long that the distinction has become meaningless to him. His attorney calls Garrison's office by accident that afternoon, looking for a different Garrison. Garrison's paralegal takes the message, notes the callback number, and forwards it with a timestamp. Garrison reads it, calls me, and says, his attorney is already fishing. They're scared. Good, I say. Beckett, the compliance package. I don't know anything about a compliance package. Of course. A pause. It arrived this morning, anonymous. Plain paper cover letter, no return address, the $34,000 spreadsheet. Nadia's forensic breakdown. 3 of your neighbor's photos showing a Ridgeline registered Audi at a private residence during business hours. Sounds thorough. The cover letter says, and I'm reading this verbatim, internal review recommended. Efficient, I say. That's not illegal, Garrison says. No, I say. It's just expensive. I'm leaving Garrison's building at 4 p.m. when the SUV jumps the curb. Rain-slick street, the specific sound of tires losing purchase on wet asphalt, and then a black SUV attempting a U-turn that becomes something else entirely. Clips a parking meter, idles at a wrong angle, 4 feet from where I'm standing on the sidewalk. The window comes down. Elias Weston. Gray-faced, unshaven, the specific unshaven of a man who has not slept in 2 days and has stopped caring about the signals that sends. He looks at me. I look back. The rain is light, the kind that gets you wet without feeling like it's raining. Neither of us speaks. The window goes up. The SUV pulls away. I stand on the wet sidewalk with my pulse at 90 and take out my phone. I text Garrison one line. Add a protective order to the list. He responds in 3 minutes. Already drafted. I pick up Ren from school on Thursday at 3:30. She gets in, drops her bag between her feet, doesn't put on her seatbelt yet. She has her mother's jaw and my eyes and the specific stillness of someone who has been thinking about what she wants to say since lunch. Mom called me today, she says. What did she say? That you're making things difficult. I say nothing. The parking lot is emptying around us. Other parents, other cars, the ordinary machinery of a Thursday afternoon that has no idea what it's adjacent to. I told her I didn't think that was accurate, Ren says, and puts on her seatbelt. I pull out of the lot. You don't have to be in the middle of this. I'm not in the middle, she says. I'm on a side. We drive for a block, 2 blocks. Dex okay? I ask him. He doesn't know anything. He thinks you and Mom are fighting about money. Smart kid. He's 8, she says. He's also watching everything. They always do. I know she's right. I've been thinking about Dex since the night Sloane's photo fell off the bookshelf, and I left it on the floor. 8 years old, sharp eyes, his mother's son in ways I never had the legal standing to complicate. Whatever happens next, Dex is going to need someone to be steady. I'm thinking about what steady looks like from where he's standing. I'm going to need you to be patient, I tell Ren. This is going to take a little longer than I'd like. I know, she says. I've seen how you build things. We drive the rest of the way home in the comfortable silence of 2 people who understand each other without requiring it to be said. Sloane arrives at Garrison's office uninvited on a Friday afternoon. She doesn't have an appointment. She tells the assistant she needs 5 minutes with her husband. The assistant calls me upstairs. I come down. She's in the hallway outside the elevator bank, still in her work clothes. Corporate HR director to the last detail. Blazer heels, the controlled presentation of a woman who manages people for a living and has decided to manage this. Drop whatever you sent to Ridgeline, she says. Her voice is controlled, which means she's terrified. This stops. We mediate. We keep it private. I didn't send anything to Ridgeline, I say. Technically accurate. Beckett? You want private, I say. You should have wanted private 14 months ago. Her jaw tightens. She has a tell I've known for 9 years. The slight forward movement of her chin when she's about to say something she's calculated to land. I will make this very hard for you, she says. You already did, I say, and go back upstairs. In the elevator, I notice the process server waiting in the lobby below has a tattoo on his wrist. I can see it from the elevator glass. Something motivational, block letters. The kind of thing you get when you're 22 and certain about things. I think at least one of us is inspired. Then the elevator closes and I go back to work. Nadia's apartment is on the north side, 3rd floor, the kind of building that was a factory once and now has exposed ductwork and good light. She has a kitchen table that's big enough for folders and a coffee maker that does one thing well. I bring coffee from the place on the corner because hers is better than mine, but the walk is useful. We sit across from each other with the compliance officer's response letter between us. The letter is careful. The language of an institution that has begun to understand it has a problem and is determining how to contain it. Garrison flagged 3 phrases that suggest Elias's position is already compromised. His attorney will push for a private settlement, Nadia says. She's reading the letter without touching it. I've started to notice she does this with documents she considers potentially contaminated. Standard playbook, confidentiality clause, structured payout, everyone moves on. We don't move on, I say. No, she agrees. We don't. She refills her coffee. Doesn't offer mine. She knows I haven't touched it yet, which means she's been paying attention to my habits, the way I've been paying attention to hers. The folder touching, the phone face down, the way she straightens the edge of a document when she's thinking. I completed the singletune.com assessment last night, she says offhand, like it's a footnote. Couldn't sleep, started answering questions, kept going. She wraps both hands around her mug. It asked me what I'd been wrong about in my last relationship. What did you say? I wrote for 40 minutes. A pause. That I mistook management for love. That I kept optimizing instead of asking. She looks at the letter. Elias was a project I was always trying to improve. I thought that was caring, it wasn't. What did the app say back? She almost smiles. The same almost smile from Cafe Sonder when her sister texted. It said, that was a good start. I look at my coffee. The question from 3 nights ago is still in my phone, unanswered. What do you believe a relationship is actually for? I've thought about it every day since. I haven't typed an answer because I'm not sure I know what the answer is yet. But I'm starting to think that not knowing is different from not having one. You should answer it, Nadia says. What? The question. You've been thinking about it since I mentioned it. I can tell because you get a specific kind of quiet. I get a lot of kinds of quiet. This one's different, she says. It's the kind where you're actually listening to something. I look at her across the kitchen table with the compliance letter between us, and the folders stacked at the edge and the coffee going cold, and I think, here's a person who notices things. Here's a person who has been paying attention to the wrong things for 14 months and has now turned that attention fully and precisely in a new direction. I know what that feels like. I've been doing it for 3 weeks. I'll think about it, I say. You're already thinking about it, she says, and picks up the compliance letter. The knock at my door comes at 9 p.m. Ren is in her room. I've been at my desk. I go to the door and open it, and Elias Weston is standing on my porch in the rain, unshaven still, jacket dark with wet, and he has his hand in his jacket pocket. Every muscle in my body catalogs the pocket. Then he pulls out a flash drive and holds it up like a white flag that doesn't quite believe in itself. Everything Nadia has, he says. I can make it go away. I look at him. The rain is doing what rain does. He looks like a man who has spent his whole career making things go away and has just discovered that some things don't go. Come in, I say. He steps inside. I don't offer him anything. We stand in the entryway. The forensic report, he says. The photos, the compliance package. I have relationships at Ridgeline. I can contain the internal review. Nadia's attorney is pushing for maximum exposure. But if we both pull back, you came to my house, I say, at 9 o'clock, in the rain. My daughter's home, I say. He stops. You came to my house where my daughter's home, I say, to offer me a flash drive. His hand with the flash drive drops slightly. He's reading my face the way he reads rooms, looking for the angle, the leverage point, the thing that can be managed. He's not finding it. My face isn't giving him an angle because I'm not negotiating. What is it you want? He says finally. I want you to leave my house, I say, and I want you to understand that the next time you come within 4 feet of my address, Garrison files the protective order that's already drafted and waiting. He looks at the flash drive. He looks at me. She was going to leave you anyway, he says. It's the last card he has, and he knows it. Probably, I say. But she didn't. She stayed and lied. There's a difference. I open the door. Drive safe, Elias. The streets are wet. He leaves. I close the door. I stand in the entryway for a moment with the rain sound against the windows and the house quiet around me. Then I go to Ren's door and knock. She opens it. Everything okay? She asks. Yes, I say. Go back to your book. She looks at me for a moment with my eyes in her mother's face. Then she nods and closes the door. I go to my desk. I open my phone. The singletune.com question is still there. What do you believe a relationship is actually for? I type for the first time. I type, to be known accurately and chosen anyway. I put the phone face down. I go back to the null folder. There's work to do. The divorce hearing is in room 14 of the courthouse. Fluorescent patients, laminate tables, the specific smell of a building where people come to perform civility at each other under legal obligation. Garrison is beside me. Sloane's attorney is a man named Whitfield, who has the practiced neutrality of someone who has heard every version of this story and stopped being surprised by any of them. The pregnancy test is Exhibit A. The vasectomy records are Exhibit B. The time-stamped audio memo is Exhibit C. Garrison lays them out in order, which is the order of a man who knows that sequence is argument. Sloane is across the table in a charcoal blazer, her hands folded, the controlled presentation I've known for 9 years. She adjusts her earring once. Just once. Whitfield makes the case for joint custody, primary residence with Sloane, standard support. Garrison makes a different case, which is the case built by 11 weeks of null folder documentation and Nadia's forensic accounting and 41 time-stamped photographs and a compliance investigation at Ridgeline Capital that has already resulted in Elias Weston being placed on administrative leave pending review. The judge is a woman named Hargrove who reads every document before she speaks, which is the habit of a judge who intends her decisions to hold up. She reads Exhibit C twice. When she looks up, she looks at Sloane. "Mrs. Hale," she says, "I want to address the matter of the child." Sloane's hands tighten, almost imperceptibly, on the table. The paternity test results, ordered by Garrison 6 weeks ago, processed, filed as Exhibit F, are already in the record. Dex is Sloane's son from a prior relationship she disclosed before we married. The current pregnancy is a different matter. The child Sloane is carrying is not mine. This is no longer in dispute. The financial arrangements will reflect the actual family structure, Judge Hargrove says. She's reading from her notes now, which means she wrote this before she came in, which means she made up her mind before the hearing started. Support structure, reasonable. Asset division, equitable. Primary residence for Wren. With me at the townhouse, her choice. Filed in a separate document by her own attorney. Garrison arranged it 3 weeks ago. Sloane has visitation. Generous visitation, because Wren is 16 and capable of managing her own schedule, and will see her mother as much as she chooses to. Dex goes with Sloane. This is the part that cost me something I didn't expect to pay. He's 8. He doesn't know what's happening. He knows his mother and I aren't living together anymore, and that his room at the townhouse still has his stuff in it because I haven't touched it. I don't know if that's right. I know it's what I have. Sloane signs. I sign. Garrison collects the documents with the precision of a man who has been waiting for this moment since 9 a.m. on a Tuesday 11 weeks ago, when I sat across from him and laid out 3 things on a table he didn't touch. In the hallway after, Sloane stops me. Whitfield is talking to someone at the far end. Garrison is at the elevator. It's just us in the hallway with the fluorescent light and the sound of the courthouse doing its business around us. "I need you to know," she starts, Sloane. I know what you need," I say. "You need me to tell you that it's complicated, that people make mistakes, that the marriage had problems we both contributed to, and that somewhere in there is a version of this where you're not the only one responsible." I look at her. "I'm not going to tell you that." Her chin does the forward thing. "I made mistakes. I know that. But you were—" "I was what?" She stops. She's looking for the word that will reframe this, the HR director's instinct to reframe, and she can't find it. "You were always somewhere else," she says finally. "Even when you were here." "I was here," I say. "You just needed me to not notice things." She looks at me for a long moment. Then she adjusts her earring. "Once. The last time I'll watch her do it." "Take care of Wren," she says. "I always have," I say. I walk to the elevator. Garrison holds it. We ride down without speaking. In the lobby, he hands me a folder, the final documents, everything signed, everything in order. It's done, he says. It's done, I agree. Outside, the city is doing what it does. Indifferent, continuous. The same streets it was 11 weeks ago, when I shot 84 at Harborview and texted, "Send the docs," and thought it was a good day. The Singapore fund closed 2 weeks ago. The $12 million is in the account. The Series B company is building something that will either work or won't, and either way, I'll know what to do next. I sit in my car in the courthouse parking garage, and I don't move for 4 minutes. The fluorescent stripe across the windshield is the particular yellow of institutional light, the color of places where things get decided. I think about Dex's photo on the floor of my office, face up, the kid smiling at something outside the frame. I think about Ren saying, "I'm not in the middle. I'm on a side." I think about Nadia at her kitchen table saying I mistook management for love. I think about the question on my phone that I answered at 2 a.m. 3 weeks ago. What do you believe a relationship is actually for? I typed, to be known accurately and chosen anyway. And then the app asked me a follow-up question, which I didn't expect, and which I've been thinking about since. When did someone last choose you accurately? I didn't answer that one. I'm working on it. I start the car. Hallie Marsh is waiting outside the courthouse, which I didn't expect. She's been there a while, coffee cup in her hand, the specific stillness of someone who has been standing somewhere long enough to stop fidgeting. She sees me coming and doesn't move. "Lawson filed last month," she says. No preamble, no warmth. "You know that." "I know." "You sent him that calendar." She's not asking. Her voice has the quality of someone who has been rehearsing this conversation and is now discovering the rehearsal didn't help. 14 months, every date, my texts. I sent him information, I say. He made his own decision. "You broke up my marriage." I stop in front of her. She's looking at me with the specific expression of someone who wants to be angry and is discovering that anger requires a foundation, and her foundation has been audited. "Hallie," I say, "how many times did you tell Lawson she was with you?" She doesn't answer. "How many times did you watch me pick Ren up from school and think, 'He has no idea,' I say. How many dinners did you sit across from me and I didn't know it would? You knew," I say. "You knew everything. You were the architecture." I look at her. "I didn't break up your marriage. You built it on the same foundation Sloan built ours." She looks at her coffee cup. Her hand is shaking slightly, the specific shake of someone who has been holding something heavy for a long time and has just been told to put it down. "Is there anything I can say?" she asks. It's the most honest thing she's said to me in 14 months. "No," I say, "but you should call Lawson, not to fix it. Just to tell him the truth, the whole thing, without strategy. He deserves that." She looks up. Something in her face does the thing that Nadia's face did at Cafe Sonder. Not softening exactly. Something more like recognition of a thing you've been avoiding. I leave her there with her coffee and her shaking hands and the courthouse behind her, and I walk to my car. The drive home takes 20 minutes. I know every turn. I've driven it 1,000 times. Today, it feels like the first time I'm driving it without a destination I'm pretending to want. Ren is home when I get there. She's at the kitchen table with her laptop and a glass of orange juice, the ordinary machinery of a Thursday afternoon. She looks up when I come in. "Done?" she says. "Done." She nods. Goes back to her laptop. I hang my jacket, get a glass of water. The kitchen is quiet and ordinary and mine. "Dad," she says, not looking up. "Yeah." There's a folder on the counter. Nadia dropped it off. I look at the counter. A folder, edges soft from handling. A note on top in Nadia's handwriting. Precise, no flourishes. The handwriting of someone who knows that clarity is a form of respect. The note says, "Ridgeline's board voted this morning. Elias is out. Thought you should know before you heard it somewhere else." I stand at the counter and read it twice. 41 photos, 14 months. $34,000 of corporate spend. A compliance investigation that became a board review, that became a vote. The kind of architecture that takes 11 weeks to build and stands without requiring anyone to touch it again. I put the note down. I pick up my phone. I open singletune.com. The question is still there. When did someone last choose you accurately? I think about Nadia across a kitchen table, saying you get a specific kind of quiet. I think about her noticing my untouched coffee. I think about her writing for 40 minutes about mistaking management for love and how I understood every word of it because I've been fluent in that mistake myself. I type, 3 weeks ago, someone noticed I was listening to something and named it before I did. The app processes for a moment. Then it says, that's a good start. I put the phone in my pocket. I go to the kitchen table and sit across from Ren. You eat? I ask. Not yet. I'll cook something. She looks up from her laptop, studies me for a moment with my eyes in her mother's face. The specific, unsparing assessment of a 16-year-old who has been watching adults perform competence for her whole life and has gotten very good at knowing when it's real. You okay? She asks. Yeah, I say. I think I actually am. She nods once, satisfied, and goes back to her laptop. I get up and start cooking. The kitchen smells like orange juice and the particular quiet of a house that is becoming something different from what it was. Outside, the city is doing what it does. The null folder has 37 files in it now, and I won't need to open it again. The Singapore fund is closed. Elias Weston is clearing his desk at Ridgeline Capital. Sloane is somewhere across town building the next version of her life. And Dex is with her. And someday I'll figure out what steady looks like from where he's standing. I put a pan on the stove. The cold plastic of the pregnancy test against my palm. I can still feel the weight of it, 11 weeks and a lifetime ago. Now it's Exhibit A in a closed file in Garrison's office. An ordinary object that was also a detonator. That's all it was. That's everything it was. Ren's phone buzzes on the table. She glances at it, puts it face down. A gesture I recognize from her mother, from Nadia, from everyone who has learned to manage the interruption of the world. Then she picks it back up and looks at it again. And something in her face does the thing that faces do when something unexpected turns out to be good. Dex texted me, she says. He wants to know if he can come over Saturday. I turn from the stove. Tell him yes. She types. I cook. The pan heats. The kitchen fills with the smell of something ordinary being made, which is, I'm coming to understand, the whole point. My phone buzzes. I look at it. Nadia. The board meeting ran long. I'm outside if you have coffee. I look at the door. I look at Ren. She's already seen the text. She has the angle and the instincts of someone who has been paying attention. And she's looking at her laptop with the deliberate focus of someone choosing not to comment. I go to the door and open it. Nadia is on the porch in her gray coat, the same gray from Maison Vert, a folder under her arm, and the particular expression of someone who has just watched a thing they built for 11 weeks finally stand on its own. The evening is cool. The street is quiet. 3 houses down, Pruitt's porch light is on. Coffee's on, I say. She comes in. I close the door on the street and the evening and the city that was complicit in everything and indifferent to all of it. And I go back to the kitchen where Ren is at the table and the pan is heating and something ordinary is being made. It's enough. For the first time in a long time, it's exactly enough.